Hello and welcome to our EU Open number 6 recap video where we look at the predictions I made before the weekend and compare them to what actually happened. So starting in Group A, I had predicted Vitality 3-1ing BDS. They actually 3-0'd them pretty convincingly. As you can see, that was pretty convincing victory. Synergy BSK. I actually had Synergy winning a 3-2 over BSK, so doubted them. So this was a wrong pick. As you can see, it was kind of a close defensive, low-scoring series. But this was a bad pick by me. I can definitely admit that. GK over Los Leones, I picked as a 3-0. It was actually a 3-1. And then Ninjas and Pajamas over Caliente, I picked as a 3-1. It was actually a 3-0. So mostly good minus the BSK synergy pick. Then that means that Vitality synergy, I had Vitality qualifying through. Vitality had beat BSK. Vitality came out playing really good on that first day. And then another kind of upset, or in my opinion, upset, Ninjas in Pajamas 3-1 to GK. I had predicted a 3-2 for GK to win. So good result for Ninjas in Pajamas to beat GK right there. Send GK to the lower qualifiers. That means BDS synergy. I had BSK beating BDS here, but obviously BSK advanced and synergy got dropped down. And then from there, that kind of affects my bracket a little bit because I had GK, I had Ninjas dropping down, but really GK dropped down. So GK knocked out synergy, whereas I had synergy qualifying through by playing Caliente and Los Leones. But so that they got a harder bracket than what I had predicted, and they ended up not qualifying through. But BSK ended up qualifying through by beating Caliente. So, BSK should be very proud of that result. So maybe give myself like a C+ for this because I got 3 out of the 4 correct, and then also made a couple first round picks that didn't quite work. Let's look at Group B. Dignitas, Chippy Chips. I had as a 3-1. It was actually a 3-0. Another beatdown game where you can definitely see, it's like 5-0, 7-2, 4-1. Dignitas was looking really good. Gentlemates over 100%. This I picked as a 3-1. It was actually a 3-0. Relatively close game still. Carmine Court 3-0ing ATM. Not super surprising there. And then forward, I had beating Dopamine 3-1. It actually ended up being a 3-2. So a closer series than you'd think. And look at that. I didn't even realize the first 4 games went to OT. And several longer OTs as well. 5:51 OT. So then that means Dignitas Gentlemates in the uppers. I had Dignitas winning 3-2. It wasn't actually that close. Dignitas swept Gentlemates. It was a 3-0. Games weren't that far off, but the series was definitely far off. So that was a little bit of a miss by me. And then Carmine, I had 3-1ing forward. It was really a 3-0. Mike Boy wasn't able to get the upset against Vatira this time around. And then that puts Chippy Chips against 100%. I had 100% 3-1ing Chippy Chips. It was actually a 3-0. Moving forward against forward, and 100% actually swept forward here, which was a surprise to me. I thought forward was going to beat 100%, so missed that pick. Then in the lowers, it was ATM Dopamine. I thought Dopamine was going to come out and do a little bit better, but ATM obviously got the sweep here. Good for them. And then they got swept by Gentlemates. Tough series to have to go through Gentlemates to qualify for top 8. And so, therefore, it was Dignitas, Carmine, 100% Gentlemates. And so, that one I'll give myself a B because I was pretty close, but did miss the 100% forward pick there. And the Dopamine ATM pick. Almost everything else worked out for me there. So, let's look at how my playoff bracket compared to the actual playoff bracket. So, in the lowers, in actuality, it was GK 100%. And I had Ninjas Gentlemates here. And then it was Gentlemates BSK on the bottom. So didn't quite work out. So I don't want to go too much into the details. GK obviously 4-2's 100% here. That was kind of an interesting series because 100% came out and looked very strong in the first two games. And then it looks like GK had some sort of important timeout. So, definitely good adjustments by them to come back out and hit the four straight wins over 100% after going down 2. Gentlemates over BSK. Not super surprising. I think almost everyone would have picked this. Gentlemates is probably just a team with a little bit more experience on playoff Saturday, I guess this would have been. And they just performed better. So I actually had Forward beating Synergy here, but both of these teams didn't make the top 8. So it kind of nullifies those picks, right? Then in the uppers, I had Carmine Vitality 4-1ing. That's exactly what happened. This series is not looking close. Vitality's really got to figure out what they're going to do about KC because they know I'm sure they feel like they can beat KC, and I bet what happens is they get some better scrim results than they get actual game results, and so they kind of always get frustrated in these tournaments because it seems like K-Corp always takes them down. Dignitas 4-2ing GK. They actually 4-0'd Ninjas in Pajamas. I don't know. This series felt closer than the scoreline suggests. Look how every single game was a 1-goal game. And there was a couple heartbreaking moments for Ninjas in Pajamas in this series. That's what I'm remembering, at least from watching it. And then in the lower quarterfinals, I had Vitality Gentlemates and GK Forward, but obviously these teams matchups didn't quite happen because of the brackets. So in reality, Vitality advanced through over GK. This was a good showing from them, minus that 1-7-2 game that they kind of gave up in. Gentlemates over Ninjas. That's exactly what happened. So this kind of secures Gentlemates' status into the semis. And GK, drops down lower there, or drops out of the tournament there, I should say. So then let's look at our top 4 final. I had Dignitas, Vitality, Carmine, GK. It was Dignitas, Vitality, Carmine, and Gentlemates. So I had GK going further than the Gentlemates. That's not what happened. I don't think that's a bad pick from me, but I am kind of glad to see Gentlemates doing well. So I'm not upset about it. I had Dignitas 4-1ing Vitality. It was actually 4-2. This was another good series. Definitely a great series if you love Dignitas. Carmine GK 4-1. It was really 4-2 against Gentlemates, and Gentlemates actually looked pretty good, although they had to, they kind of lost the first 3, so they were looking at a reverse sweep against the best team in the world, so kind of knew it was over at that point. Carmine isn't really one of those teams that tilts out where they just don't play well, so they're just good. So that leads to the grand final of Carmine Dignitas. This is exactly what I predicted. Obviously I made some wrong picks earlier in the bracket, but I had Carmine 4-1ing Dignitas because I thought they were going to get their get back game, and that's pretty close to what happened. It was actually a 4-0 sweep. As you can see, the games were close. This didn't feel like an utter domination. Dignitas just had a couple unlucky breaks, probably had a couple plays they wish they could get back and do slightly different. I thought all 3 players on Dignitas played well. I didn't think, it wasn't really anything to me where Jack, Stizzy, or Jorius was dramatically underperforming or hard carrying. So I think Dignitas has reinforced that they have a higher floor than earlier in the season. So while I know they wanted to win the grand final to get back-to-back grand final appearances, definitely something they can be proud of. Let's go ahead and take a look at how that breaks out for the ranking points then for Raleigh. So you can see the follow-up is Carmine with 52, Dignitas with 42, Vitality with 32, and Gentlemates with 26. GK, Ninjas, BSK, all these teams unfortunately did not have enough points to make it. So I had originally predicted that GK was going to outperform Gentlemates, but good for Gentlemates. They definitely found a better style for them. I think Eugen was clearly an upgrade from Radosin. unfortunately for Radosin. Wish him nothing but the best. And yeah, so I am going to give myself like a B minus because I predicted the right grand final, which is, I think, impressive considering how good all the European teams are, or the EU, how competitive EU is. There's a lot of teams where you could see them go into the grand finals. But I think Carmine and Dignitas are definitely the best two teams in Europe right now. Vitality, still a team you expect to see like top 8 to top 4 at Raleigh. Gentlemates, also a team that could potentially have a deep run. So Europe's bringing really high quality teams, as they always do. But I think this is very good setup. So like I said, I predicted GK was going to get enough points here. They were close to Gentlemates. It ended up kind of being the inverse of that, where GK faded out early and Gentlemates got more points. So good for them. And that's really everything for now. I'm going to be making more videos about predictions for the Raleigh Major and some player rankings, things of that nature. So please subscribe if you find this type of Rocket League RLCS content interesting. Also planning on doing another Flip Reset practice session video coming soon. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know how your picks went. Let me know if you were surprised, and let me know if you think Carmine's going to win it all at Raleigh. That's certainly what it's looking like based on their performances in EU, but we'll see. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.